the shadows over the cracked earth. A single figure rode atop a worn horse, the sound of hooves echoing in the vast silence. His name was Jace Ryder, a bounty hunter with a reputation as sharp as the blade he carried at his side. His face was rugged, weathered by years of chasing criminals through harsh lands. His eyes, dark as the night sky, scanned the horizon as he moved steadily toward his target. Ahead of him, a small, desolate town loomed like a mirage in the distance. It was a place most people avoided. Too much blood had been spilled there, too many lives lost. But to Jace, it was just another stop on a long journey. As he entered the town, the wind picked up, sending a cloud of dust swirling through the streets. The buildings were dilapidated, their windows boarded up, and the few souls left in the town hid in the shadows, eyes wary and distrustful. Jace didn't care. His job was simple: find the outlaw, bring him back, dead or alive. He tethered his horse to a post and walked toward the saloon, its swinging doors creaking in the breeze. Inside, the air was thick with smoke, and the dim light barely illuminated the faces of the few patrons sitting at the bar. Behind it, a burly man wiped a glass clean, his movement slow, deliberate. Jace's boots echoed on the wooden floor as he approached. The bartender didn't look up at first, but when he did, his eyes narrowed. "What do you want, Ryder?" he growled. "I'm looking for a man," Jace replied, his voice low and steady. "Goes by the name of Elijah Voss." The bartender stiffened, his hand gripping the rag a little tighter. "Voss doesn't come round here no more. He's gone." Jace's eyes never left the bartender's face. He knew better than to trust the words of a man who spent most of his life behind a bar. "Don't lie to me. I know he's here. I can smell fear on you, and I don't like it." The bartender hesitated for a moment, then motioned to the back of the room. "Through there. But I ain't helping you, understand?" Jace didn't respond. He just walked past, his hand resting on the grip of his revolver. As he pushed through the back door, he found himself in a small, dimly lit hallway. At the end of it was a door slightly ajar. Behind it, voices could be heard. Jace took a deep breath, then entered the room. The sight before him was almost cinematic. Elijah Voss, a man with a notorious reputation, sat at a table with a handful of other rough-looking men. They were playing cards, but the moment they saw Jace, everything froze. A few of the men stood slowly, hands twitching toward their weapons. "Ryder," Voss said, his voice cold but confident. "I thought you'd find me eventually." Jace's fingers twitched, but he didn't draw his gun. Instead, he stepped closer, his eyes locked on Voss. The tension in the room thickened. It wasn't just a bounty hunt anymore. It was personal. Voss had done things, horrible things, and now it was time for justice. "You've killed enough people, Voss," Jace said quietly, his gaze unwavering. "This ends today." Voss smirked, a wicked glint in his eyes. "You think you're the only one who hunts men like me, Ryder? There's always someone out there. Always." The other men in the room began to circle, but Jace was faster. In a blur of movement, his gun was in his hand, and he fired 2 shots, one for the man on the left and one for the right. Both dropped without a sound. The remaining 3 hesitated, eyes darting between Jace and their leader. Voss's smile faltered, but he didn't flinch. "You're outnumbered." Jace didn't respond. He simply shifted his weight, ready for whatever came next. A loud bang echoed through the room as Voss's men drew their weapons. But it was too late. Jace was already a step ahead. His revolver roared to life again, a shot ringing out for each of the men who dared move. By the time the dust settled, only one man stood, Voss himself, his hand gripping a knife with a trembling grasp. "You're faster than I thought," Voss spat, his eyes wild. "But it's not enough. I'm not going down without a fight." Jace's eyes never wavered. He had spent years in this life, hunting men like Voss, tracking them down no matter the cost. He didn't need to talk, didn't need to waste words. He knew what needed to be done. In a flash, Voss lunged, but Jace was ready. He sidestepped the attack, and in one swift motion, his gun was at Voss's chest. The shot was clean, quick, precise. Voss fell to the ground, his body limp and lifeless. Jace stood over him for a moment, breathing heavily, the weight of the job sinking in. It was always the same. Hunt, fight, win. But the emptiness lingered always. He holstered his gun, turned, and walked out of the saloon. Outside, the sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows across the town. The wind howled through the streets, carrying with it the faint scent of dust and death. Jace Ryder, the hunter, had claimed his bounty, but in his heart, there was no victory, only the quiet realization that this life would never change. And so, he rode off into the horizon, ready for whatever came next, knowing that the hunt was never truly over.